Good evening. My name is Eugene Peterson. I'm the chair of the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. The Human Relations Commission was put into the formally put into the county charter in 2020. So we no longer serve at the pleasure of any county executive. We're fully commissioned to be running as we fill our membership, and as the county executive helps fill the membership and the county council. We have a statutory responsibility to investigate allegations of housing discrimination, and we have a general charge to fight against discrimination, hate, intolerance, and bias, so we can truly make Anne Arundel County the best place for all, which is a goal of our county executive and the county council. So I'm going to call the meeting, the September meeting of the Human Relations Commission, to order at 6:06 p.m. on the 21st of September. And I wanted to let everybody know that our wonderful recording secretary sent me an email and said she could not be here today. She had I believe, a work commitment, so she has an excused absence. And Mr. Farris also contacted me, and he also has an excused absence. So let me begin by taking the role. As I said, Commissioner Farris and Hatcher have excused absences. Commissioner Daydoni?
Present and slowly unmuted.
Commissioner Apter? Commissioner Agbula Tosin?
Present.
Commissioner Sorrow?
Present.
Commissioner Denton?
Present.
Okay, and I'm going to come back to you, Commissioner Denton, so you can tell us a little bit about yourself. But that'll be after I finish this
Okay.
roll
Sorry.
call. Commissioner Michaels?
Present.
Commissioner Farinas? Commissioner Gaskin?
Present.
And as chair, I am here also. I guess I would, before I have Michelle Denton introduce herself to the other commissioners and anyone who's listening in, I would like to ask if there's anyone who would like to volunteer to take any notes you can send to me for as serving in the position of secretary. If we pass a motion, I'll note that in my notes. Anybody want to do that? These meetings are televised, and I usually send the YouTube version of the transcribed meeting to Secretary Hatcher. So if no one volunteers, that's fine. Okay, we'll send her the YouTube version of our meeting, transcription of our meeting. Okay, Commissioner Denton?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about
Hello,
yourself.
everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. My name is Michelle Denton, and I've lived in Anne Arundel County for 8 years now, and I have 2 children that attend. One attends Crofton Middle, and one attends Crofton High School.
Oh.
And, education as well as counselor in California.
Okay. Welcome aboard. And you're the representative from which councilman districts, just so we have it straight.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
8. Okay.
8. I live in Crofton. Yes.
Councilman District 8. Thank you. All right. Welcome aboard. And we're so happy to have you.
I believe, I could be really wrong. I think there are only 7 councilmanic districts.
You're right. There's only 7.
Oh, okay. So that means I'm not in 8.
No.
Then.
Must be in 7, I would think.
No. Oh, just a minute. No.
Crofton's in.
Could be 7. Part of Crofton is 7. Are you replacing council member Saeed?
No, I think
I am not one.
I think she's replacing Jaquela Call, and I think she's
7.
she is District 7.
She is District 7. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you from District 7.
Yes.
Want to run for the Board of Education?
Again, welcome aboard, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
At this point in time, everyone should have gotten copies of the minutes that our secretary prepared before the meeting, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes with any slight technical revisions that might be required. Is there a motion to do that?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And that's Commissioner Michaels.
Mhm.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Lisa Sorrow.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. We'll now go to the Unity Day Planning Event Committee has been meeting regularly. We just had a meeting last week, and I will start talking about where we are with the planning of the event, and I'll ask anyone else who attended the meeting to chime in and help me, because usually Commissioner Ferris would give this report, but he is excused today. We had the meeting, I'm trying to remember what day it was, but we had a meeting, and we talked about where we would go in terms of the total event planning. We plan to have an on premises event, and the site I believe that we are recommending that the committee has chosen is in the southern part of the county, and I think it's the Hot Sox part. Is that correct? Anyone who else?
That is correct. Yeah.
That is correct. Yes. And there's some historical reasons why that's important. That park was a venue that the community, especially the African American community in the southern part of the county, utilized for events, and we felt that it provides a good setting. They have a bleacher box because it is a park. There's a ball field there. They have a bleacher box which we could use to stage the event, have the set up with the microphones, et cetera, et cetera. There is parking at a church that's nearby, and there's, I think, on the street parking also. We were pleased to have Dr. Maisha Gillens from the school board attend the meeting. And this is important because while we're planning this Unity Day, we have to keep in mind that this Unity Day concept really originated in the public school system. They have a number of Unity Days during the year. We're planning for I think it's the last one on their event calendar is it March, I believe?
It is March. I think
is
it's March
March.
19th.
March 19th. And from our last work last year, we found that we needed to have more outreach to the schools. So we talked with Dr. Gillens about having more emphasis on the communications, more than just, I think it's called Connect Ed or whatever they use for messaging. Our student intern informed us at an earlier meeting that it would be good to use the daily event presentation at the schools. That would be useful. We have clubs at the schools that could also help us with presentation of this event. And I asked Dr. Gillens to talk with the head of the public affairs department at the school district, Bob Mosier, about what additional things he might suggest that we do and he might help us with to get this event really on track and well publicized in the southern part of the county. And if our plan works as Commissioner Michaels suggested, that we could live stream it throughout the county to other school settings. Dr. Gillens has a meeting set. Everybody has a structure, and they have a structure in the school district, and she has to report to the she reports to the chief executive officer, I guess the CEO of the district. And so she has a regular meeting with that person. She will meet, I think it's with him. She'll meet with him, and then he will give her an indication of how much involvement the school district plans to have in this event with us, and whether they're going to be a sponsor or just an active. Let's see, we have two categories. One is sponsor, and what is what's a collaborator or whatever it is that we call it. But the bottom line is we want to see how active they want to be with it. And it would be wonderful if we could get the superintendent to come out and be part of the event. We also would like to use the model that we used at the Downs Park last year, which means that we would have involvement with the two Southern and South River High School down there in the southern part of the county. And like we did with Chesapeake and Northeast, we might have cheerleaders, we might have a choir, we might have instrumental, an instrumental group. We'll also have a keynote speaker, and there was some discussion of whether we could plant a tree, what kind of tree that would be. And we're going to defer to the Parks Department on both of those issues. We will have our next meeting, I think in a week or so, and we're going to have these regular meetings because we feel we need a planning time that will allow us to really get everything in place. So that's my summary of the meeting. Anybody else who attended want to add anything?
The next planning meeting is October 3rd, just for the
Okay.
interest of those on that committee. Thank you.
Right. And anybody else who wants to join it is welcome also. And Asha will send out notification to all commissioners. So if you haven't been involved in the planning up to now and you say, well, I'd like to step in and help, please feel free to do so. Any questions, comments, observations from any of the commissioners here? Okay. We'll move on to our next topic. I was going to give you a report on a forum that was organized by Director Smith. You can help me with this, but I believe this was initiated by both the county and county police department and the county executive's office, and it was an effort to bring in a number of actors: county police department, Department of Justice, the local church and activist communities to address this issue of hate bias incidents perpetrated against houses of worship and how to provide aid and security for these places of worship. My role would have been to talk about the things that we have done as a commission, but unfortunately I could not attend because over the weekend my wife contracted COVID, and so I didn't think it was a good idea for me to go to the meeting. Everybody agreed, and so I did not attend. They had, when I talked with the DOJ contact, they had about 60 registrants early on. So it sounds like it was heading towards being a success. Is there anything else that you could add to that, Director Smith?
Sure. It was just, it was a wonderful event. It was co-sponsored by the Department of Justice, the Department of Justice, the Anne Arundel County Police Department, and the County Executive's Office. Our Office of Community Engagement and Constituent Services worked very hard on it. They had the state's attorney was there, Ann Coltlitis. There was a representative from the FBI. And some of our internal department heads were there too. The Office of Emergency Management was represented. And really the goal was to make sure that, the attendees from various houses of worship understood the laws that are protecting us here in Maryland. They said repeatedly how fortunate we are to have the local laws that we have in Maryland, which do some unique things in the hate crime space, especially as it pertains to houses of worship. And so, there's some requirements you don't have to go through if, for example, there's a fire, if there's an arson at a house of worship. Some of the elements that you typically have to prove to charge a hate crime, you don't have to do it. The fact that it happens at the house of worship is in and of itself enough, right? And there's some other things. So that was very illuminating. Corporal Ott gave a stellar presentation about the ways that folks can protect themselves. It was very empowering, very, very engaging. And she talked about the fact that that training is available to everyone, obviously encouraging them to have her come out to the house of worship and talk to people. It's sort of like our CRACE training. Some of the folks on this call might know about that, that the county PD provides. They do it for people in houses of worship. How do you get out? How do you protect yourself? How do you defend yourself? And so it was a very, like I said, empowering event. Where the impression you were left with is that there are things that you can do. It's a shame to have to think about it, but once you get to the point where you accept that it's a possibility, there are things we can do to protect ourselves, and there are resources to help us. There was someone there from the state talking about money or maybe it was from the federal government, but in any event, there are grants that are available for houses of worship to enhance their security. And so he talked about that. So it was all in all very enlightening. And I think people left feeling better than they came in.
Yeah, I believe the grants are from federal money, maybe the
Yes.
Department of Homeland Security or something like that.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Any questions, comments, observations from commissioners? This is an important issue. We should not lose sight of the fact that the number of instances of violence being perpetrated against houses of worship has dramatically increased over the last few years. And so bringing that community together, and also being available from the Human Relations Commission standpoint to have them talk about the impact, because I know we had one couple of meetings ago from the Glen Burnie area, the Catholic Archdiocese. The property that they have vacated became a target of vandals, and there was some desecration of the altar and other negative things written on the building. Of course, we remember what happened at Fowler United Methodist Church in Annapolis, and the continued vandalism at Odenton on various houses of worship. In both instances, the instance in Odenton where the vandals were pulling down pride flags and Black Lives Matter flags, those folks were apprehended, and through the action of an alert member of the Department of Police Department of Anne Arundel County, someone was arrested for the Fowler incident. So we need to be vigilant. We need to be welcoming. We need to be supportive of folks in our community who just want to go about their lives and feel free to express opinions and worship as they choose. So I just thought I would add those comments. At this point in time, I'd like to ask Director Smith to give us her report.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. For those who don't know, it started on September 15th. It's 30 days. So it will end in mid-October. We will be having, hopefully, a lunch and learn with Sergio Palenco and Laura Gutierrez on the afternoon of October 3rd from 12 to 1. It'll be virtual, and invitations will go out. So I just wanted to give some administrative updates. First, you know, we have a little budget this year. Woohoo! $5,000. So Chanel has designed a logo for the Human Relations Commission that's lovely. And she investigated the cost of a table cover and a retractable banner to allow the commission to go out and do some tabling at community events, to take it to conferences or meetings or whatever it is. So I wanted to let you know the costs of those items. The table cover is about $330. The retractable banner is about $440. Obviously, hopefully this is a one-time investment. You won't need another one for years and years to come. And so I don't know if this necessitates a vote, Chairman Peterson.
Right. I guess if there's general consensus, there's no need for vote. Is the general consensus that this would be a good thing to do with some of the money that we have? Open it up for any discussion that somebody thinks maybe we shouldn't do that.
I'm for it. I make a
Commissioner
motion. that we-
Daydoni?
Thank you. This is part of the Joan discussion. I think we should do that. I raised the point that we might need a canopy, a tent-like structure as well. Not going to need it for the Kunta Kinte Festival, which has just been, it's being called canceled, but there are plans I read to reschedule. But because that one and that rain's going to be too heavy to continue. My experience with the NAACP is as follows. We will want to get a canopy or a tent. And in fact, suggest contacting some organizations that have done so. And Ralph Tom of the NAACP has a lot of experience in this area. And we should budget some money for cleaning of the tablecloth or make sure it's washable. Again, using the NAACP as a guide. Couple of times a year we need to have that cleaned.
Okay, good input. Any other further comments, questions?
I just wanted to point out that we did take Commissioner Daydoni's suggestion under advisement when we went to the March on Washington celebration at Susan Campbell Park. The NAACP tent was there, front and center, could not be missed. But I'll tell you what, it was brilliant. It was astonishingly hot. The sun was beating down. The people under the tent looked like they were having the time of their lives while the rest of us were sweating. Commissioner Gaskin will concur. So, we did talk, Chanel and I did talk about the tent. We're thinking that might be a better purchase for the spring because we don't anticipate that we'll need it for the next couple months. But yes, we did take that under advisement.
Okay, and general consensus would be, I'm hoping that you will come back with what the cost of a tent would be, and then we would have any further discussion about whether to make the purchase. But right now, I'd like to limit the discussion to the two items that were presented earlier. So it's a general consensus that we're going to go ahead and it's the tabletop and what's
It's
the other?
the table cover, the tablecloth,
Table cover, yeah,
and a retractable banner.
and a retractable banner. Okay. Okay, to hearing no opposition, I'd say go forth and purchase.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
I know Chanel's listening. She's got that. Thank you so much. Well, as a related matter, we, thought about some opportunities for tabling. Happy to support the commission in identifying some opportunities if you need assistance with that. If not, feel free to identify some opportunities where the commission can go out and do some outreach. Oh, and Commissioner Sorrow says that if we need a tent cover between now and then, she has one. She's willing to loan the commission for now, which is great.
Fantastic.
All right. We need not burn. All right. Thank you. Okay. The county council this past Monday approved 3 commissioners. Our student commissioner is approved. Our District 5 commissioner is approved. And Commissioner Sorrow is now our commissioner as opposed to simply being Aaron Karpowitz's designee.
Right.
I think there were some residency issues that were resolved by doing this.
Okay.
And so she's here with us. Okay. Next up, the website. Those of you who work for the county know that the county has upgraded its website. They went through a massive redesign project. If you have not been on the commission's website recently, please feel free to go on and take a look. There are a couple of things that I'd like to update and put on there, and I'll talk about some of those things later. But please take a look at the new website. One of the questions I do have for you is whether the commissioners would like to put brief bios and pictures on the commission webpage. There are some commissions that have done that historically. That's something for you to consider. I talked with Kaylee Schultz, who oversees our boards and commissions. She felt it would be a nice idea if that's something that you guys wanted to do. I think it would help people in your respective districts to know who you are. That's what I have.
Okay. What I would ask everyone to do, I'll send out an email to all commissioners, tell them we had this opportunity, and I don't think we need to take a vote, but I need the general consensus that this is something people want to do. I think the bios is great. Pictures are good too. It gives people an idea of who we are, and especially in your district, it would give somebody they could really feel they could contact, as opposed to just a name. And I don't think we have contact information after the name, do we, right now?
No, but I think we just, on the page, we do have the HRC email, which I think is connected to all of you. So you get those emails when they come.
Right. But I'm not sure if someone saw that, they would think, oh, okay, I want to contact Commissioner Michaels. I would look for his email. I would not look for the commission email, but that's, so it's something that we should definitely take a look at.
Okay.
But do you have anything on police reports and the rest of it?
Oh, I have it all. It's all.
Okay, good.
Yes, I got it all. All right. So Dallas Pace, I just wanted to give you guys a reminder about that. The county executive's office does support the commission in the selection of the Dallas Pace awardee for the Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. And Chairman Peterson is, our contact for that. He's clued in. He knows all the deadlines and the dates, but I just wanted to give you a reminder so that you'll tell
us. The deadline that I set for everybody to send in the bios and the pictures was October 2nd. So what I will need from commissioners are some names that I can vet, and I'll do this year, and we should set up a committee in the future to do this. But I'll do it this year because we're a little late in doing this. So if you have names of an individual or individuals that you feel are deserving of the award, and the idea of the award is that it should be someone who exemplifies the beliefs and the teachings and the thinking of the late Dr. King. And I'll also send out what the theme of this year's breakfast is. And so the person doesn't have to be tied to that theme, but it gives you an idea of what we're looking for in terms of someone who in the community exemplifies following the teachings of Dr. King and his nonviolent philosophy. That means you take action, direct action. Okay.
I think Commissioner Dadoni has a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Commissioner Dadoni?
Oh, isn't Commissioner Dadoni just like that? Chairman Peterson, I raised a question with you. I know an organization in District 7 that exemplifies service, direct action, serving poor, marginalized communities, standing up for the history of the African American community and schools in their part of the county. So as I told you, I will be nominating an organization.
Okay.
And do we know yet if that's going to be a problem?
We had the same situation happen with an organization, and what we did was we had the founder of the organization, or in this case, it could be the executive director or president of the organization, have their picture and bio, but talk about the organization.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, so that would work.
Thank you.
Okay. And in terms of administrative issues, last but not least, my office has a Facebook page. I would like you all to friend it. We put subject matter that's really relevant. I just dropped the link in the chat. So please feel free to, to do that. All right. The county executive's office updates. Rex and Parks is looking for participants for a stakeholder advisory group for Quiet Waters Park. Applications are due tomorrow. Obviously, they always want a diverse and representative group. So if you're interested, please apply online. We talked about protecting places of worship. That went really well. In terms of upcoming events, on September 26th, there's going to be an early childhood summit. It's co-sponsored by Workforce Development, Economic Development, and some other folks. It's going to be a convening of businesses, daycare providers, and government, meeting to discuss methods for improving access to childcare in the county. It's an online event. Details are on Eventbrite. If you're passionate about early childhood education and childcare, this is the event for you. Again, that's going to be on Tuesday, September 26th. Go on Eventbrite.
I might also add, if you're passionate about your taxpayer dollars, this is part of the county will tap into this to spend blueprint money to address early childhood to grade 3 education. And there's a lot of questions that arise there about private vendors, certifications, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it might be something that those of you that are interested in education and how we're going to really make this blueprint for the future in education in Maryland work, this is one of the meetings that tracks with that.
It's information and it's opportunities. So thank you for that. That's right. River Days is canceled. Our third one was supposed to be this weekend. That's unfortunate. So that's not happening, just like the Kunta Kinte Festival is not happening. I told you about the Lunch and Learn event on October 3rd for Hispanic Heritage Month. On November 3rd, ACDS is partnering with my office and the Maryland Volunteer Legal Services to do a Tangled Title event. This is actually a really important thing. Lisa, do you want to talk about it a little?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And Asha, unless I'm mistaken, I think it's November 2nd.
It's totally November 2nd.
Okay.
That's my mistake. Sorry.
That's okay. So for those of you who aren't aware of what the concept of Tangled Title is, Tangled Title, we're referencing title to homes, to households, and title can become tangled when property is passed from family to family, generation to generation, without actually changing the deed and recording deed changes. And so what we find happens is people go to sell their home, what they believe to be their home, or they try to get a loan to provide necessary improvements to their home. And they learn that, in fact, they don't hold title to that property. And as a result, they can't get a loan, they can't sell. And it takes some time and effort and legal finagling and money in some instances to correct the title so that it remains with the family. And we're looking at this really as an equity issue, because it tends to be those folks who have not had money traditionally to make those title changes themselves. So we are working with Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Services. We're working on getting some volunteer attorneys. We're hoping to have probably 10. There are 6 already lined up as of earlier this week, actually. So there may be more now. And those attorneys will be present for the clinic to assist people who, in fact, don't have title to their houses that believed that they did. And we'll be doing some outreach sessions prior to that to provide some education, information about the issue. And then folks will sign up to meet with an attorney during the November 2nd clinic. And something else that we've been talking with the Register of Wills about is potentially doing an estate planning clinic in the spring, and that would be to prevent these tangled title issues from happening. So helping people to create wills, draft their own wills so that the property can be passed from one generation to the next. Thus, the goal is maintaining intergenerational wealth and property. So that's the direction that we're going in. And I think it's going to be really successful. We've got some really enthusiastic partners that we're working with, including the Register of Wills, Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Service, the Bar Association's Pro Bono Committee, and others. And so we're looking forward to it and think it's going to do some good things.
And we should let you know that it's going to be at the Pascal Center in Glen Burnie, thanks to the Department of Aging and Disabilities for offering that space. So, let everybody know, right? This is also about eliminating the homeownership gap. And like Lisa said, it's about building generational wealth.
I had a quick question or two. One is the MLK Breakfast Award that we're doing the nominations. Is there any kind of a deadline for getting that in?
October 2nd.
Okay. And just get it into you, right?
Yes, please.
All right. And the other was, you had mentioned, Asha, that the Kunta Kinte thing was canceled. Is it canceled or postponed, or do you know what the status is?
I actually don't. I was parroting Commissioner Daydoni. I didn't know that until today. I knew that there was a prediction for bad weather for the weekend. And so she said at the beginning of the call that it wasn't happening this weekend. Commissioner Daydoni?
Yeah, the notices that I had received and seen from the county said that it was canceled. However, Alderman Brooks Schandelmeyer's post said that they would be looking for a date to reschedule. So I can't say anything authoritative. I can say there's some hope it would be rescheduled.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
And Commissioner Sarah just reminded me that we do have a flyer for the Tangled Title event. And so we'll make sure that we get that out to you so that you have it and you can share it. Chairman Peterson, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. All right. We're going to move now to hate, bias incidents and police reports. I just dropped a link in the chat to the hate, bias incident dashboard. It has been updated. As you might recall, it's updated semi-annually. So it now includes the hate, bias incident data from January 2023 to July 2023. The next update should be somewhere around January of 2024, and it'll show the full year's data.
Can we,
yes.
when they do this, can we then put that on our webpage? Because I think we should
It's
do
like
that.
you're reading my notes here, because my next bullet says, should we link the hate bias dashboard on the HRC website? I think the
Yes, we
answer is
should.
yes. And so
Okay.
if, no objections, then we'll go ahead and do that. We had 2 hate bias incidents in August, which is a nice low number. We hate to have any, but that's a nice low number. And they were both in Brooklyn. One was an anti-Semitic incident. One involved the use of racial slurs against a Hispanic resident. So those were the 2 that we had for the month of August. In terms of fair housing complaints and inquiries in the last 30 days, we have one case involving hazardous conditions and a disability accommodation in subsidized housing. So that's one. We have one case involving the maintenance of accessible parking spaces. And we have one case involving a neighbor dispute that was already filed with MCCR. However, it's a really interesting case. And so the complainant has agreed to share updates about the case, although she's not filing it with us. It occurred in District 7. The issue is in District 7. And so I've asked her to keep us posted on what happens with her case. And I asked her permission to share the underlying facts with this group, and I will.
Okay, I guess
Or the allegations.
yes,
Let me
the
change
allegations. Since
the
this
underlying.
is a case that's open, we can't give the person's name. We have to redact some stuff, don't we?
Absolutely. So I can just sort of give you a little synopsis of what she alleges happened.
Yes, what the allegations are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be useful for us.
It's an interesting situation. So we'll see, you know, after the investigation and potentially resolution of the case where it goes.
Can I ask a question? I still haven't figured out how to raise my hand on this thing. I mean, seriously, like there should be a little thing for it, but there's no.
So there's if you hover over the bottom of your screen,
I am.
do you see a thing that says reactions with like the little emoji?
Yeah,
thing?
reactions.
Yes. Yeah.
If you click on that, raised hand is there.
Okay. Look, done.
What's up?
Yoy.
Okay.
Showing my age, I guess, 29. The question is, does the hate bias report and the information you provide, Commissioner Smith, is that generated from the police department and the special department that the sergeant or the commander spoke to us from? Is that where the report comes from? How does that report get generated? What determines, how does a hate bias thing get on that report?
Sure. So anytime there's a call for service that involves an allegation of biased behavior, whether it rises to the level of a crime or not, it's documented and included in this report. However, that said, that does not mean that you'll see it in the year-end report. We basically get two sets of numbers. So we get hate bias incidents, and then we get hate crimes. And hate crimes meet a different standard. It's a state standard. There's a report that ultimately our police department reports numbers to the state, and the state hate bias report comes out. And so those numbers may not be the same as the numbers we're reporting now. Anne Arundel County tends to over-report. Some other jurisdictions tend to under-report. And so we get a healthy sort of representation of what's going on in various parts of the county.
And then as a follow-up, the link to the hate bias report will link me to all the quarterly bias reports, hate bias reports. Is that correct?
Semi-annual. And
twice a year.
And it's a dashboard. So it's not going to be a report, but it's going to show you the numbers of incidents. It's going to show you where they've occurred. You can engage with the dashboard pretty nicely.
Okay. And a city, no, I said one follow-up. And the city, like Annapolis, if they have a hate crime, does that get then, or a hate bias report or a hate crime, does that then go to the county because Annapolis is in the county or Odenton is in the county? Does it go the city, the county, the state, depending on the level or the extremity of the issue?
The numbers that I'm giving you are the county. These are incidents that the county PD responds to. However, when you look at the state report that comes out annually, Annapolis PD and I believe Crofton also report numbers. So their numbers are included in the totals.
Okay.
Good questions. Thank you, Mr. Michaels.
I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
It's a long
Um,
report today, but yes, thanks.
we do not have a report from our liaison with the Annapolis Human Relations Commission because Commissioner Hatcher has an excused absence today. So we'll go to our next topic, which is old business. We don't have any new business. This could be considered old business, but I thought I would put it on the agenda. A while back, Commissioner Apter sent us some information on a state senator, Senator Sidnor, I believe, from Baltimore County, who had filed legislation that would allow for the kind of checking that was done in the New York situation that was part of that fair housing film that we saw. And it would have to give an exemption to allow one-party consent to tape calls. Maryland has one of the most stringent two-party consent laws in the United States of America. And so I would like to propose at this point in time, and I ask for Commissioner Apter to chime in on this, whether or not the commission, Director Smith sent us the legislation in April. Could you send that again, Asha, to the commissioners, because we've had some turnover in commissioners, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And so you'll be familiar with what we're talking about. And I think the title of the legislation was wiretapping conversations, videotapes, et cetera. I don't know why they called it wiretapping, but it's one-party consent, which is allowed in some states. So I would like to propose that we take a look at that. And Commissioner Apter, if you would be so kind, and I would work with you to get a hold of Senator Sidner again and see where he is in his thinking. And then I think the next step would be also, I think I would ask Director Smith to see whether the county executive would be interested in working with us to get our delegation on board to support this legislation or to propose similar legislation for the next legislative session. And so I think this is an opportunity, as Commissioner Apter has said, for us to try to beef up the one statutory responsibility that we have. So having said that, Commissioner Apter, would you like to add anything else?
Other than it would be amazingly underhanded of me to say no to this request that I get in touch with the senator and follow up. So I will do so.
All right. And as I said, I'll work with you on any other things that he wants to do. And we will start the discussion in our administration and our delegation about getting on.
We don't by any chance have the name of the number of the piece of legislation that I submitted back.
I think
Senate Bill 47, and I put it in the chat.
You put it in the chat.
Senate Bill 47.
Okay.
47.
And it's in the chat for you.
Thank you.
Put it in the chat, Mark.
Gotcha.
All right. So are there any other thoughts on this? I think this is something that we can not only work with our commission, but if we can get the ball rolling, we can contact other human relations commissions in the state and see if they might not want to join us in trying to get this legislation passed. It's not going to be easy because the Maryland Judiciary Committee in both the Senate and the House, I think, would be mightily opposed to doing anything that might give just a little bit of an opening to muck up a very stringent two-party consent for conversations and videotapes that exist in state of Maryland.
Okay.
Any other comments?
He's
Discussion?
planning to reintroduce it. I mean, we can say that, and he's looking for as much support as he can get. So
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping that he will want to reintroduce it. And if he doesn't, then I think, we would like to ask the county executive to work with us to get our delegation on board with doing this. I mean, it makes sense to do it. I think you can do this carve out, and it won't blow up the legislation that's on the books now in the state, and it would give us another tool so that we could really look at de facto redlining and de facto housing discrimination, which is alive and well in this nation. Okay.
I just add to that, just to share that I know that Senator Sidner does want to try again this session. One of the things that he mentioned in a recent meeting was that he would like to have a co-sponsor in the House. I don't think there was a sponsor on the House side last time. So that's something, if we're going to bring our delegation in, we might want to talk with the local delegation about someone on the House side.
Okay, well, that's good input, because Director Smith, that would be something that the county executive could help us with. In other words, I could call several of my friends that I know in the House delegation, but I think if the county executive is interested in this and he supports it and he works it, I think we might get a couple of sponsors from our House delegation to do this.
And he did support it last time, and I know that he supports it again. So yes.
Okay, well then the ask we have is, if you support it, then let's get either Delegate Barrett or Delegate I'm thinking Rogers, or somewhat Delegate Chang. I mean, there's a lot of them that you'd think would support this if they knew. And again, the problem we may have is because of the way that our Maryland state government is structured, you kind of got to get the okay from not just the delegates, but from some of the other folks. So, but we'll see what we can find. It's good to find out what's going on. So we'll do that. Okay. Any items for the good and welfare tonight?
I raised my hand. You see, I got that.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah. All right. I'm just trying to follow the protocol. I have some new business referring to an old business that was in the minutes. But it's a specific question about the Human Relations Commission responsibilities. So I'm rereading, we are the commission that's part of Anne Arundel County, and so on and so forth. And the first sentence, as Human Relations Committee, we are given specific responsibility by legislative action of the County Council to investigate alleged housing discrimination issues. So my question to that part is, are we as a commission interested in housing in general in the county, or only as it relates if people are being discriminated against, and if there's any hate bias, hate crime, or it's a little bit of a larger umbrella? And the reason I'm asking the question is I mentioned to all of you at the last meeting that I would send you, and which I've done because we've updated some materials on the Affordable Housing Symposium November 1st, which Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Sorrow are both a part of, and on an extensive list of panelists and speakers. And I can report to you that we have quite the docket, upwards to 25 people from Partnership for Youth and Families, and the mayor of Annapolis and the county executive. These are all people that will be on these panels. But what I'm wondering is, do we have a mission of also looking at housing for the county as a commission, looking at that as a balance so that people have fair housing laws and so on and so forth? Or that's not our purview and it's more reined in? That's the question.
Okay, and I think if I might respond, I think the answer is yes, we do. Because if we subscribe to the notion that Anne Arundel County is the best place for all, that means all have to be welcome, all have to be involved, all have to be treated equitably, and you have to address issues that are either unjust or lead people to disparate situations. We have Tale of Two Cities in Anne Arundel County. It's the best of times for some people in their housing, and it's the worst of time for others. And that is a concern. And we really don't have in my opinion, we really don't have a good public-private partnership strategy to provide affordable public housing. We just don't have it. So yes, we would, I think we could expand our interest beyond simple allegations of discrimination, as we are doing when we're looking at the one-party consent legislation that would allow us to do testing to see if there's de facto redlining and de facto housing discrimination, which I believe there is.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
the answer is yes. We're interested in equitable, affordable housing for all.
right. And
But we're interested in it, but we don't have any legislative authority to address it.
right.
That's correct.
But we support affordable housing and sort of under the umbrella of the county, where Executive Stewart Pittman has his 2040 plan and is setting up through districting this type of affordable housing response to workforce housing and fair housing legislation. So at least in words and maybe in deeds, we can help to support his efforts to in this affordable housing space.
Again, I don't think that's a conflict, but as Mark said, we only have one statutorily mandated responsibility, which is to look at housing discrimination.
Okay.
And the other stuff we do in terms of equity and discrimination throughout the county falls under the umbrella of making Anne Arundel County the best place for all.
Right. And all I'm doing is trying to make sure I understand completely our directives without, overstepping anything, but just making sure that I'm just not bringing things up that don't need to be brought up for this commission. But if there is an interest, then
that's fine. We have in the past taken positions on issues that are outside of Anne Arundel County. We had a very strong reaction to the George Floyd murder, for example. And you can see our statement on the web page, and you can see the things that we recommended in terms of legislation and other things that Anne Arundel County should do. So yes, we do. If a commissioner brings an issue before us as a commission, we will consider it.
And I can put this in a formal request to the commission, but would the commission entertain from a formal request a sponsorship for the Affordable Housing Symposium that's November 1st? They have a nonprofit an amount which is less than the table cover that we're using for the budget. So if we have a budget, can we make a request for support so that the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission can be as part of the sponsorship for that symposium? Is that a possibility?
You can make that as a motion. We can see if we can get a second and see where it goes from there.
Okay.
What's the cost? What are we talking about money-wise?
$250. And what it does is it supports a table where community members who are concerned about affordable housing can work in a workshop to help get across the line an interest in affordable housing in the county that they're interested in. So the attendees are going to attend this symposium, and then in the afternoon, they're going to have lunch and a workshop. And the workshop's going to be run, Commissioner Soros, I believe, on that panel. And so is Henry Bogdan from the Maryland Nonprofits, and Patty Prasada Rowe. And they all are working toward helping guide people on advocacy, on how to advocate for affordable housing, rent stabilization, that kind of thing. But anyway, there's a nonprofit amount, and it's $250. So I'm not prepared to make a motion. I'm just sort of investigating, asking questions. And
we have to make a motion if we're going to spend the money.
Right. But I'm not.
How are we going to spend the money? We don't have any budget other than the tabletop stuff that was just referred to. We have no money. Where are we getting the $250?
Asha said that there's a budget of $5,000
Yeah.
that we were given. So
Tell
We
me,
did get
Asha, tell us
$5,000.
about that.
Sure. I requested a little budget because we've never had one. I sort of explained that we needed it for our
Unity
fair housing related activities and other things. We had some events last year, and it would be good if there was some, and also for marketing materials and everything else.
Right.
And so we got $5,000. We were granted this money, which is huge for us, since that is an increase of 100% from zero.
From zero.
And so that money is there for the commission to do with as they choose.
So how much of that money is, I got the impression that we had to spend whatever that money was on signage, etc.
No. We just have a little proposal that you get some signage, since we have a budget, and we can't always be assured that there'll be a budget. So since there is one, this would be the time to get it, since you don't have it.
Okay. When did we become aware that we had a budget of $5,000?
I think I announced that as soon as the budget passed in July.
Okay. I missed it.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's all right. Now I know.
Okay, so
and because of that explanation, then I would like to make a motion that the Human Relations Commission be represented by a nonprofit sponsorship of $250, where their information, called the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission information, will be up on the screen. And also, if there are any marketing materials that are presented prior to November 1st, we can include them in the take-home bag. We don't have any trade show or tables or stuff, but we can include that in that material that we are giving out to the attendees. And so I'd like to put that motion out there. I've already forwarded to all of you some information about the Affordable Housing Symposium, along with the sponsorship packet, so you can review it. And the sponsorship doesn't have to be approved today. You can consider it or table the motion till the next meeting. because it's not until November 1st and everything is being done electronically. So to make it very easy, and you can review the information offline.
Okay, so we
You
have
say it's all being done electronically. You don't mean the meeting is electronically. You just
I'm
registration.
meaning the payment, the information being put up on the screens is all being done by technology and computer. And the next meeting that we are probably scheduled to have will be the third Thursday in October, and that's still time to get all of that information done, unless we are decisive and we can make a second
Well,
motion.
let's see if we can get a second to your motion now. So see how
I would second it with the proviso that in this goodie bag that is going to be given out, we have a one-page explanation of our role in investigation of housing faults, so that people, we don't seem to get many, if any, people coming to us and saying, we there's this violation and we want you to investigate it. Housing Commission.
Right.
So would it, that's my little proviso there.
Okay, there's a second. All those in favor of providing a $250 support sponsorship fee and providing along with that the description of our function as Commissioner Apter described, along with any other descriptive materials about the commission that we want to provide. And I think we had brochures done at one time, or we have a mock brochure, I'm not sure. Is that correct, Director Smith?
I'm not sure whether there was a brochure. I do know that there's a message in the chat and you have a couple hands up.
Oh,
But-
okay.
I think there was a digital version of that brochure that I don't think ever got printed or anything.
Okay.
Oh, you mean I'm sorry. I lost the plot for a second. I lost the plot. All right. Yes, we do actually have printed brochures. We have some new cards that are in Spanish and English, and they are 4-color and they're lovely. So happy to get some of those to you.
So we have stuff that we can include in the bag. Okay.
But I think very specifically, the primary purpose is that we don't talk, just about all the things that we're all about, but where we have legislative power and come to us, and here's who you come to. And I don't know whether it's you, Asha, or Eugene, or whatever, but what's the process for voicing a complaint?
Okay, I think that's part of the brochure, but
I don't think so. Unless if it's some brochure that just got created, fine. But if it's the one that has been around for a few years anyway, I'm saying very strongly that it shouldn't be a broad document, or at least with a broader document, there should be a document that is just about our role and how we can be helpful to people who feel there's been discrimination in housing towards themselves.
Okay, we'll work on it, but I think some of that information is included in the.
Well, I'm sure if it is included, it's included in a broad blah blah form. Would that be?
I think it says that we have statutory responsibility for that function, and it talks.
Yeah, it may well say it somewhere, but I'll bet it's not the lead.
Okay.
Anyway, Asha, could you send the brochure to all of us?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. No problem.
Okay, Commissioner Daydoni.
I have a comment on a separate topic. I don't know that we have.
Okay, we need to finish the motion. All those in favor of the motion that's been properly moved by Commissioner Michaels.
I think Commissioner Sorrow's hands is up. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because I can't see it. It's in her light.
All right, I got you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It is hard to see it in there. Yeah, I have a couple of concerns about this, as much as I think that the symposium will be a great event for the community. I think we have only just received this budget, and I don't think we've really had an opportunity as a commission yet to discuss what we would like to do with the funding, and what the goals are for the funding. And I'm not sure we fully know how the symposium ties into our mission. But more importantly, I'm not sure about the feasibility, unfortunately, of a commissioner having funds from the commission go to that commissioner's organization. So I think there may be some issues associated with that that prospect.
Good point, and that's why we have the Office of Law. We can raise that question if we decide to pass this motion, and we will get back with the commission and let them know whether or not that's a problem and we can't do it, or whether it's not a problem and we can do it.
Right. And I just want to say that what Lisa just said is the last thing that I want to do, and I'm so happy that she's brought this up. I don't want any impropriety or anything. This is strictly for that purpose of the support. But if it looks as if a commissioner is using his position to wrangle $250 out of the county's awarded $5,000 budget, that's the last thing I want to do, and I want to remove the motion for that purpose. And that's why I said I didn't want to really do the motion now, because as Lisa just mentioned, I think we need to sort of like maybe look at that and maybe get a legal advice, and also to give everybody a little minute to think about it. Right.
All right. So you want to withdraw your motion?
That's what I'm saying, because of what Lisa just said. The last thing I want to do is to have any impropriety or any opportunity for any person to come at the Human Relations Commission and go, you know, what are they got a budget for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they're giving money to one of the commissioners' pet projects or something.
I think what was just said is that we've got the money in July, so it's not 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think what Eugene just said is if we vote on it and it passes, then it has to go to the law office to focus on whether or not it's appropriate. And I'd rather do that and have it in process than just kind of say, well, we'll think about it. And I think you had indicated that, you know, the deadline is the 1st of November. So we only have one more meeting.
Right.
So I'd say let's put it in process and see what happens.
Okay.
To clarify, I'm not suggesting there is any impropriety at all. I want to be absolutely clear about that. I do think that there's the potential for an appearance of something not quite right.
And that's why we would run it by the Office of Law, no matter what the vote is on this.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor.
I want to raise the question. I want to raise a question of parliamentary procedure. I don't know the answer, and I don't have my guidebooks in front of me. I believe when something like this happens at the Board of Education, the motion is tabled while the time is taken between meetings to go to their legal offices to come back with an opinion. So I'm not sure that we vote now or that we withdraw the motion at this point. I believe we table the motion until we get a legal opinion. Can someone who knows more about parliamentary procedure help me out?
I don't know if I know more about it, but I think you're absolutely correct. because there is an unsettled issue.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gaston. I appreciate it.
Okay, so if it's the wish, having all this input, then I guess what we'll do is, unless the body of the commission decides differently, we'll table this until we get the opinion from the Office of Law, and we can bring it back up at our next meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can we request for the Office of Law deal with it before our next meeting?
Asha?
I'm happy to make that request.
Okay. And then if that's the case, we can get back to the commission, and I guess we can, if there's no problem with this, and you can check with the Office of Law, then we can vote electronically to go ahead and do that, to spend the money if we decide.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Asha,
Sure,
Okay.
no problem.
Eugene, and everybody for all that good discussion.
All right. Any items for the good and welfare? If anybody wants to bring up, any commissioner would like to bring up?
Yes, I want to share a story with the
Okay.
commission. I don't have an answer to the story. It's a story about something I experienced today. Midday, I received a phone call from someone saying a person had been delivered by car to their office. They had been delivered by someone who had given the person housing last night. No relationship to the person who was delivered, the homeless person. The homeless person is without family, without job. The person at the agency to which she was delivered immediately started calling around looking for help, housing, shelter, with a storm coming. That person called every place you can think of. For example, the Lighthouse Shelter is the first place they call. The Lighthouse Shelter is severely overbooked. I provided names of churches that I know might try to help, individuals, pastors, and struggled with the decision whether or not to offer my home. This is an everyday story. Today it was a story that came across my desk. We are the Human Relations Commission. We are concerned about housing. Are we the body that's concerned about homelessness, lack of emergency shelter? People without resources, new to the area, looking at sleeping in the park as a tropical storm approaches. That's all.
Okay, let's feel for that individual. Appreciate you sharing that. This is a national problem. It's not just related to Anne Arundel County. And it's something that, again, we need to keep on our radar screen. But thank you for sharing, Mary. Any other items for good and welfare?
Can I just comment what Mary just said? I'm sorry, Commissioner Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that goes, what her story goes right to my opinion, to what Commissioner Michael said. It's, are we concerned about just discrimination in housing? Are we concerned about having affordable housing and things of this nature? So I think the question is valid from both of them. It's something that we need to, not just feel for people, but make a decision or determination. Do we, should we be looking at that as well? Because people are homeless in some situations, many situations, because the lack of affordable housing. So do we just wait until somebody's in housing and then they're discriminated against? Or do we also have the broader umbrella of, okay, why is there a lack of affordable housing, in Anne Arundel County? And what can we as a commissioner do about that? What steps can we take? Is it within our purview? Like, what authority do we have? Or can we, make any type of suggestions? I think it's something that we really need to have a discussion about, because it is a very serious problem. And like you said earlier, it's the tale of two counties, those who have and those who do not have. And it's very unfortunate that people have to live this way. You work in a county that you can't even afford to live in. And I think it's very serious. And I think it's something that we need to spend some time discussing.
Agreed. Perhaps we can put that on the agenda for our next meeting, and since by then we'll be able to take the vote on the sponsorship for the housing program, and begin to discuss what role we could have in leading the discussion about affordable housing in Anne Arundel County. So we will take that under advisement and put it on our agenda.
I would also like to respond to Commissioner Dunny's story. I was going to say that Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Sorrow, and myself, we belong to a benevolence organization in the county. It's made up of about 80 organizations. I can send it's everything from the shelters, emergency numbers, church organizations, and it's broken into a spreadsheet that says, of those organizations, what areas do they focus on? If that would be at least helpful. I don't know if it'll be helpful in this situation right now, but if it would be, I could email that list to you. And I can tell you that we've devised two lists. It's an internal list for your eyes only, and an external list that can be handed to somebody who is doing the searching. But the internal list is it would be like having my personal cell phone number if you needed to call me, but it would not be for the client. So I have that list. And I also have a list of all the food pantries in the county by day. So like where they are Monday, Tuesday, and so on and so forth. If that would all be helpful to any of the commissioners, that's sort of a space that I work in general.
Please, thank you, and bless you.
Okay, I'll send you out the list at least by tomorrow morning. Okay.
Okay.
But are you going to send it to everybody?
I can, yes.
I would
Yeah.
like. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, it looks like from the information that I think Asha primarily put on in the chat, that the bill on wiretapping electronics was pre-filed for October 1st, 2023. Okay. So that part, we assume that he is moving ahead. And I can proceed to talk to he or his staff about, what help we might be able to offer.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Terrific. Any other comments, concerns, good of the good and welfare items? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to thank all the commissioners for great discussion tonight on several topics, and reminding us that while we do have stated responsibilities, we have a greater responsibility to Anne Arundel County to ensure that it's the best place, to try to ensure that it's the best place for all. The next Human Relations Commission meeting will be the third Thursday in October. I believe that's October 19th. And it'll start at 6. And we welcome anyone who's on the call tonight and on the webinar tonight, and any others to join us on October 19th at 6 p.m. I now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, to adjourn the meeting.
Second it,
Okay, who made the motion to adjourn?
Mark Apter.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Apter. And the second was,
I second it.
oh, Commissioner Michaels. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Okay. None opposed. It's a non-debatable motion. So with that, I will say thank you all, and have a good evening, and stay out of the way of the storms.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you.
Right.
for your help.
Night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.